Hello everybody, how y'all doing? This is Sportman16, and for this video here today, I would like to finally give my thoughts about Generation 8. So, hopefully you all are pretty comfy from where you are watching this, because this is going to be quite a long video. I don't know how long exactly, but I guarantee you it's probably going to be more than half an hour, because there is stuff to talk about for Generation 8. Now, if I do happen to miss anything or say something wrong, feel free to leave a comment down below as to what I missed or what I got wrong. So, without further ado, what are my full-on thoughts about Generation 8? Well, if I wanted to put it in the short term, I would say that Generation 8 are good, entertaining games, but I will fully admit that they do indeed have their flaws. But I guess I will kind of throw in the mix of, like, I can talk about something good, then talk about something bad, and all that jazz. So, also, I will not be talking much in terms of the competitive aspect of Sword and Shield, because I will 100% tell you that I am a casual Pokemon player. I don't play competitively, because usually about half the time I could forget about a type matchup, what a certain item does, what a certain ability does, and all that. So I am not a competitive Pokemon player, I'm just casual. So, what could I say about Sword and Shield? Like, what could be some good things? Like, well, I will say one, visually speaking, these are about the best visuals that I've ever seen in terms of a Pokemon game. But in terms of the visuals of being a Switch game, it could use a little bit of improvement. But for Pokemon standards, this is the best that I've ever seen. What do I think about all of the Generation 8 Pokemon? All very good, solid designs for almost all of them. I believe I can only name off like 3 or 4 that I don't exactly like. That being Ice-Q, both forms, Cramorant, and Arctozolt. I just simply do not like those 3 because I just don't like the designs for it. Okay? In terms of what the DLC mons have dropped, which being Kubfu, Urshifu, for Isle of Armor, Regieleki, Regidrago, Calyrex and its horses, which I am still having a time trying to pronounce the names, being Spectier and Galisteer. I probably just botched that up. And I do believe that these are all solid designs. So, in terms of the main story for Sword and Shield, it was good, but it definitely could have been better. I mean, I do like almost all the characters. I do say almost all of them. I guess to pretty much say probably the one that I do not like as much as the others is Chairman Rose. And it was because of his intentions of what he wanted to do. Oleana, she was a decent character, but probably would have been better if she would have had more screen time. But the thing I liked about Oleana was at the fact that when we were getting ready to confront Chairman Rose, we had to confront her first, and then at that one moment where she was all completely calm and looking like to be completely devoid of any emotion whatsoever, she just like that, just suddenly snapped on us and just gave off that look like she wanted to do something extremely bad to us. But Does anybody else find it weird that her entire team, except for one, comprises of all feminine-looking Pokemon? Like Gardevoir, Milotic, Frostlass, Salazzle, and her last Pokemon is a Gigantamax Garbodor. I find that to be extremely weird. But her theme was pretty good. And Chairman Rose's theme, it was good, but unfitting for the character that he is. And people have been saying that the lyrics that the choir is chanting is apparently saying "Go Rose, save everyone," which I actually do hear that, but we don't know entirely for sure. But it probably is what it is. um, what do I think about the champion Leon? He he was a challenge, not a big one, but he was. Would I consider him best champion? No. But is he the worst champion? Again, no. He's I'm really sad to say this, he is not Diantha. Like, Diantha to me was the worst champion battle-wise. But looks and music-wise, she's definitely up there. But the thing I like about Champion Leon is, well, he runs a diverse team, much like what Cynthia did in Gen 4. He doesn't run like one specific type. He basically just runs a diverse team. And that's what I like. That's kind of like what I like to see within a champion, is to have a bit more of a diverse team. But if they run like a specific type of team, but if that one Pokemon has a different type, like a secondary type, then that's fine. Like with the case of, I would believe it would be Steven, and I think also Alder. I'm not quite sure. It's been a while. But I know that Steven mainly runs rock and steel types. But I think he's well, I guess it's kind of really hard to say if he was more of a rock type or a steel type, but I think he's probably both, more or less both equally. And Leon's theme, it was good. It definitely was good. Did any of his Pokemon give me a hard time? His Dragapult definitely did. Because being the one of two Ghost Dragon types, with the other being Giratina, he was a doozy. And so was his Aegislash. Because trust me, we all know how extremely good Aegislash was and probably still is. All I have to say is that Leon was a good champion. Now, the other characters, Hop, I like him. And I honestly do like Hop a little more than How back in Gen 7. Because Hop, he actually has character development going on for him. Like, at first he was just all happy-go-lucky, wanted to train hard to take on his brother and defeat him in a tournament. And then when getting defeated by the likes of Bede, Hop just broke down, and he honestly thought that he couldn't be able to defeat the likes of Leon at this rate. But thanks to us in our adventure, we kind of pushed himself back to being what he was, but a bit more confident, I guess. And that's what I like. I like a character who gets character development. And pretty much that's what we all like. Now, Bede, well, I could definitely say that it was finally great that we finally had a jerk rival for once. Because let's face it, the other rivals that we had from about I don't know. Because a lot of people say that the last jerk rival that we had was Silver in Gen 2. And all the others were, people would say that they're barely rivals. I could say something for like, say, Gen 5s. Gen 6s, they have no right to be called rivals. They're just basically just more friends than anything else. Gen 7, well, How felt sort of like a rival, but he still felt more like a good friend. But Hop, again, he was good. He was good, but he had more of that determination to be a rival. And that's all I really have to say. Hop is a good character. Bede, it was great to finally have a jerk rival for once in like so many generations before. And I do like the fact that when we realized that Bede was actually an orphan and got picked up by the likes of Opal in a somewhat creepy fashion, it was nice for Bede to finally get someone to help him out. Now for Marnie, now pretty much for Marnie, she had the least amount of character development, but to me, I'm I'm just gonna say this. I'm on the Marnie best girl bandwagon for Gen 8. I'm sorry, but she is. Well, looks wise, she is. Cause the moment that I saw Marnie the first time, I she pretty much became one of my favorite characters in all of Gen 8. Even though she had the least amount of character development. And that's the thing that's the one deduction I will give to Marnie, is that she didn't have a lot of character development. But that would lead into one of my absolute favorite characters in Sword and Shield, Piers. I absolutely love Piers. Because even though that he is the leader of Team Yell, but he is a very kind, caring brother to Marnie. Because during the time near the end of the story, when all the Dynamax Pokemon were starting to run rampant around the region, Piers was basically just flipping the hell out, thinking that there was going to be a Dynamaxed Pokemon where Marnie was, and he was worried for Marnie. And then Sonia reassured him that there was nothing there. And then pretty much earlier on in the story, where after we defeat Piers, he wants Marnie to take over as gym leader. She initially declined, but then eventually she just became the Dark type gym. And that's the other thing about Generation 8, that we finally got a Dark type specialist that isn't an Elite Four member, and I will say that Nanu in Gen 7 technically does not count, because it's basically the fact that in Gen 7 we don't have gyms, except for that one. So trial captains and kahunas do not count as gym leaders. And oh boy, what they did with Piers being the first Dark type gym was amazing. A good design, good character, and awesome music for him when we fight him. I give major props for Game Freak to finally come up with the first Dark type gym and did it in an amazing way. Now, for the rest of the gym leaders, I can't hate any of them. Like, all the gym leaders are so good. Great designs, great character personalities. Just love them all. Like Milo, he's very caring towards the Wooloos that he herds. Nessa is quite a beautiful character and quite competitive. And you see how the way that when she loses, she just gets all mad and just shakes her hair around. I find that funny. Then there's Kabu, who really has that athletic, fiery spirit going on, hence why he's fire type. Though it's interesting to note that people are theorizing that Kabu may be like Flannery's grandpa or something. Because if you look into Kabu's league card, I think it was the league card or rare league card, it mentions that he came from the Hoenn region, and he is a fire type gym. And Flannery, she's a fire type gym, and she is from Hoenn. I mean, there is a good connection there, but we can't 100% confirm it. At least not yet. But I liked the fact of Kabu having a fiery athletic spirit, because you clearly showed that he is a character who wants to stay in shape. And then we have B, or as I initially announced her or pronounced her as Bia. It's just simply B, which kind of doesn't exactly make sense when her name is spelled B-E-A. So why would she be called B when there's an E and an A in there? I mean, with the E that would make sense, but the A, it just doesn't. And knowing that she is a fighting type gym, I definitely did like her passion for fighting. Even though that, yes, I did see the episode of Pokemon Twilight Wings where she kind of pushed herself a little too far, but the anime and games can be two different things. And it was kind of funny, but kind of like a side moment that's like people are pretty much saying that B is Bay because, well, I'm not gonna lie, B is kind of a cute character, especially when she smiles when you defeat her in the gym. I saw that smile and I just immediately awed. Then there is Alistair, who is pretty much the Ghost Gym. I would say personality-wise, he's my least favorite because he doesn't exactly have much of one. But if you do look at Alistair's rare league card, that you see him without his mask on, and he just looks so sad. But that's something that I will say, that Alistair is possibly my least favorite out of the gym leaders, but that's not really saying much because even then Alistair's still a recognizable gym. And yeah, the thing about it is with the gym leaders in Gen 8 is that we very oddly have version exclusive gym leaders, which I clearly do not understand why we have that. I mean, it just makes as little sense as why we even have version exclusive Pokemon. And I think I could pretty much agree with the people saying that the reason why we have version exclusive Pokemon is for people to buy both versions of the game, even though nowadays, with the ways of online trading, we don't technically have to get both versions. We could just simply trade with people online to get those version exclusives. So, with that, I really do deem version exclusives to be rather irrelevant, especially when it came to the gyms. But I guess they wanted to add more characters, I guess. I don't know. Who was after Alistair and B? Who was it? Well, I'm very thankful I have a Cerebi up right now, so I can just look into who is after B and Alistair. That would be Opal. I do like the concept of what they did for Opal's gym, where it's pretty much you have to answer questions. Answer wrong, some of your stats go down, or is it a stat goes down? And if you guess right, a stat goes up. And that's a nice little twist. And I kind of feel like they did kind of add the case of trials into gyms. So that's pretty cool. And what's the interesting thing about it is when you fight Opal, is that she too will be asking questions, but it's a kicker. That the answers that you choose is, well, pretty much, for anyone who has been struggling with the likes of Opal, I will say this. When you're going up against Opal, and she asks you the questions, don't answer with the obvious. That's all I have to say. And yeah, I think I could pretty much say for Opal, she's something as a gym leader, and I do like her concept for what they did with the gym, is to give out questions. And then we have the other two version exclusive gyms, which is not actually two completely different people, but actually mother and son. That would be Gordy and Melanie. Gordy pretty much specializing in rock, and Melanie specializing in ice. And for me, since I technically played Shield version first, so I fought Melanie, and then later on, I got Sword version and took on Gordy. And trust me, I can guarantee you that when the internet saw Melanie, they went nuts over it. Well, that's pretty much applied to like almost every good-looking female that was introduced in Gen 8. Yeah. I mean, Gordy had quite that fun personality about him. It's like he was entertaining. And Melanie, Melanie is a quite wholesome character. Because the one thing that you can say that she's wholesome is because when she's gonna be Gigantamaxing Lapras, like right before she throws the big old Pokeball, she actually holds onto it and snuggles it. That's how I knew she was quite the wholesome character, and definitely showing that she was a mother. And I've already talked about peers, but Gordy and Melanie, good gym leaders. And then there is the final gym leader in Raihan. First of all, love the name. And two, that even though he does specialize in dragon, they decided to do something different with him. Instead of just being entirely dragons, it is pretty much two dragons, but the other two being sand summoners. Yeah, he's basically, Raihan is a dragon specialist who focuses on sand, with his sand summoners being Gigalith with Sandstream and Sandaconda with Sand Spit. And I really did like the guy, because he just had that power within him, especially when he was going to Gigantamax Duraludon. So, Raihan, amazing gym leader. And that's all really is to be said, that I do like all the gym leaders. Now, in terms of the other characters, Professor Magnolia, haven't really had much of the experience with Magnolia, but good professor nonetheless. And of course, being another professor that is named after a tree. But Sonia, oh boy, Sonia. She was definitely a character to love. Like very energetic, very passionate into the work that she wanted to do. And also kind of like in the fact of when at times she just decides to twirl part of her hair. Just amazing. Any other characters that I'm missing? Sorry, I had to take a drink there. Throat was getting a little dry. Because again, pretty much when I talk for a good long time, my throat starts drying out. So, yeah. Now, pretty much the region itself. The entire Galar region. And I will also be mentioning about the Olive Armor and the Crown Tundra. In terms of the region itself, I love it. I straight up love it. They really knew how to bring out the British within the region. Because of the fact that some of the characters do speak the British lingo, Like they would say that they saw something on the tele and all that jazz, and that's what I like. I like it when Game Freak goes into the research to make a new region. And since the fact that they went with the UK, and what they basically did to make Galar is just take the UK and flip it upside down. And the other thing that I do like is that you basically start out in this nice little town that only has like a shop here or there, and just big enough to have a Pokemon Center. Though what was oddly enough is that in the very first town that you enter in, there's pretty much a clothes shop just right there. And that's the thing I liked, is that you were able to start buying clothes that early into the game. And then as you slowly progress further and further on, you basically start getting into a more advanced town. But I would have to say my favorite town out of all of them in the region would definitely be Hammerlock. I do like Hammerlock the most because it had like those big old gears and everything, and the design of the gym. Whew, that's all I have to really say. But as good as a region Galar is, there is one big glaring problem. Many of places that we could have been able to explore but didn't. Cause like when Sonia was mentioning about that the power plant that was off in the distance, I wouldn't have mind going there, but we weren't able to, or being able to go into certain buildings within Hammerlock or some other places. That's kind of the problem that I've had with the Galar region, is such opportunity to explore many other places, but just not. I mean, there were a good amount of places to explore in Galar, but I would have liked a little bit more to it. And there was the linearity, but I didn't really care about that. Which was pretty much one of the big problems that people complained about in Gen 5 was the region being too linear, but for me, again, I just didn't really care that much. Like, honestly, I don't mind linearity, as long as you don't completely force it on us. Well, I guess it kind of did, but again, just don't really care. So, I'll be taking that back. But the region itself, I will say, does have some good places, but would have liked to explore more. And especially when it came to the final area, being Winden, I would have liked to have gone on to like the Ferris wheel or ride the monorail or all that, but just weren't able to. Now, um, now the new battle mechanic that they gave, which was Dynamax and Gigantamax, and boy, there are a lot of people who straight up just do not like Dynamax or Gigantamax because they pretty much say like that Mega Evolutions and Z moves died for this. But here is what I have to say when it comes to Dynamax and Gigantamax. And I know I'm going to get heat for this, but I honestly like this of Dynamax and Gigantamax more than Megas and Z moves. Now, hear me out. The reason why I'm choosing D-Max and G-Max over Z moves and Megas is because with Megas, they are permanent until either the Pokemon gets knocked out or until the battle's over. And some Pokemon just get completely overpowered when they get it. And there were just some Pokemon that really didn't need the Mega Evolution whatsoever, like Garchomp, Tyranitar, all the legendaries. And the fact that two popular Pokemon in Mewtwo and Charizard get two Megas, when they clearly didn't need it. And that's the problems that I've had with Megas. Some of them were just overpowered. They were permanently there until the end of the battle, or they get knocked out. And I'm just going to say this right now, F Mega Kangaskhan, because of its parental bond ability. I hated it. And I mean, yes, I know my favorite Pokemon Metagross got it, but he got too good to where he got bumped up to Ubers, and that's just pretty much it. With Z moves, they're basically just bigger, powerful, flashier versions of the moves that they're using. It's just all flashy stuff. With Gigantamax, is kind of a little bit of a combination of both. Well, with Dynamax, pretty much any Pokemon can do it, and Gigantamax is pretty much for the few selected Pokemon. And the fact that with Megas, all but their HP stat gets changed, to where with Gigantamax, it's only their HP that gets boosted. And the Dynamax and Gigantamax only last for 3 turns. That would pretty much mean more strategizing. Of like when would be the right time to Dynamax or Gigantamax? And choosing what kind of move. So that's why I do like Dynamax and Gigantamax more than Megas and Z moves. Now, I will say with Megas, I do like it for concept and design. But the stat execution was way too powerful. Just way too powerful. Because seriously, we had one Mega that was so powerful that it was too powerful for flippin' Ubers. And yeah, I'm talking about Mega Rayquaza. And the reason why is not only did Mega Rayquaza just get practically god stats at the time, but the fact that Mega Rayquaza only needed to learn Dragon Ascent to Mega Evolve, thus you were allowed to give it a hold item like a choice item, or Assault Vest, or Life Orb, or something like that. And that just made Mega Rayquaza extremely overpowered. And so yeah, you people can throw all the heat all you want, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say that I will like Gigantamax and Dynamax more than Megas and Z moves. And also, for me, this is just probably going to be a little bit of bias showing for me, that for me, what sold me on Dynamax and Gigantamax was the fact of Pokemon literally going kaiju size. Well, I guess for some of the actual bigger Pokemon like Tyranitar, Aggron, and all that, pretty much turning into little kaiju-sized mons. And I do like all things giant. Yes, that pretty much includes like cars, buildings, sculptures, models, and even animals. And if you're oddly thinking genitals, keep that off your mind, because I'm not into that. So that's what I will say about Dynamax and Gigantamax. I like it more than Megas and Z moves because I like the fact that Pokemon go on giant, and the fact that they don't exactly make them entirely overpowered, like what Megas did. Though I guess some Gigantamax and Dynamax Pokemon can be overpowered, but not like mega broken or anything like that. Let's see. Trainer customization. What I can pretty much say with trainer customization in Gen 8, they pretty much did what I was hoping they would do and expand upon it, giving us more clothing options, different colors to choose from, different hairstyles to choose from, but they still have not done the 2 things that I would like for them to do. Is one, which is I guess a bit more minor, is for male trainers to be able to have the option of long hair like what girls can have. Because apparently they think it's okay for girls to have really short hair, but apparently not okay for guys to have extremely long hair. Because trust me, I have seen guys with pretty long hair. Like, down past their shoulders long. I really would like that to be a thing. But the one thing in trainer customization that I would absolutely love for it to be a thing is a color wheel and saturation option. Like how I can see it is have like a ring or an arch to have all the colors of the rainbow, and with like the way of left and right on the D-pad or on the joystick, you could choose exactly what kind of color you want. Like going for like a magenta color, a teal color, a reddish orange, bluish purple, or anything like that. And then there would be like either like a circle or a square in the middle where we can choose the saturation, where we can make it a dull purple, a very saturated blue, a very light pastel red, or a very dark green. That's something that I would like. And again, we could use the D-pad or joystick to choose that option. And we could let that color option be applied to pretty much almost everything. Hair color, eyebrows, eye color, for the female trainers, lipstick color, and pretty much the clothes. Pretty much the shirts, the jackets, the pants, and for the girls, the skirts, and the leggings, shoes, and the backpacks. Like, seriously, that's something that I would absolutely like. And also, one other thing that I could say, that if in Generation 9 they continue with trainer customization, like when you're picking your character right at the start, like let there be the face of your character, and right next to them, to either the left or right, let there be a vertical slider to where players have the option to choose their tone of skin. That's something that would be heavily appreciative. But will Game Freak actually do that? I don't know. Just gotta take things one step at a time. But that would be a nice thing to do. Is pretty much skin tone option at the very start of choosing your character, and a color wheel and saturation option for when trainer customization comes around. And pretty much for male trainers having the option of hair length that goes past the shoulders. And I'm not talking about just a little past the shoulders, I'm talking about like halfway down the back, like what female trainers have. And just, just keep bringing in more color option, or just more clothing options. But the thing I did like about for Sword and Shield's trainer customization is that we now can be able to wear 2 layers of clothing. Basically, an inner shirt and a hoodie. And that's what I like. Basically, clothing layers. Now I would say the suggestion of like giving us the opportunity to change the look of our faces, but I get the feeling that Game Freak's not going to do that. Like, letting us be able to change the trainers' faces to match ours, I get the feeling that that's not going to happen. But a color, like a skin tone option and a color wheel and saturation option would be a good idea. And male trainers having long hair. But overall, I'm still pretty proud with the trainer customization in the game. Because when it was initially a thing back in Gen 6, it was great that we finally had trainer customization, but had quite limited options and not letting us have the opportunity to take our hat or glasses off. But then Gen 7 just changed all that, and it's like, okay, that's exactly what we wanted to do, is to take off our hats and not wear glasses. Or if we wanted to put glasses on, it would be on our face and not on our hat. Let's see, what else is there? Basically, the biggest thing that Gen 8 delivered, the wild area. I mean, it's great that even in the region that the random encounter option isn't exactly as random anymore. That in previous games, you would simply get a random encounter from just simply walking around the grass at any random time. That's not entirely the case. Now, the fact that the game actually alerts you if there's a Pokemon hiding in the grass nearby, and the addition of what they did in Let's Go, where you can encounter Pokemon in the overworld and you can pretty much choose what you want to encounter. But they didn't do the thing of where shiny Pokemon can appear in the overworld. That would have been a nice thing for us to have for overworld encounters, but they did do something like this to see Pokemon in the overworld with the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, to where the Pokemon can follow us and they will appear normal or shiny if they are in the first side of your party. But people were saying that they should have let Pokemon follow you even in the mainland. But I think we could just agree that we can just be happy that we even have Pokemon following us at all. At all in Gen 8. And also leading to the other big thing that people have been complaining about was the fact of the scale of the bigger Pokemon, with the biggest offender being Wailord. That Wailord being like 47'7", and whether in the overworld following us or in battle, he's like no bigger than, say, an Aggron. But they decided that when they made the Isle of Armor, they were just wanting to show that, yeah, we can bring Wailord into the overworld at his full size. So when you go into the Isle of Armor, there's pretty much a full-scale Wailord out there that you can encounter and shiny hunt for it too. But some people have been saying that if you do encounter the Wailord and either defeat or catch it, sometimes it either rarely comes back or never does come back. So for me, ever since I got the Isle of Armor, I never went after that Wailord. I was just like, you can stay there, big fella. And that's the thing that people gripe about in Sword and Shield, is the fact that these bigger Pokemon should be bigger. And I mean, I can understand their points, because I would have liked to see these bigger Pokemon at full scale, but maybe, just maybe, that in the overworld that the Pokemon are just too big for the hardware to handle, I guess. I don't know. Best guess I could give. And I mean, yes, I know how powerful the Switch is, but maybe they want us to have the opportunity to have the Pokemon follow you in a cave of some sort, and they don't want because if the Pokemon was scaled up to the size, they would just be clipping through the rock. So I guess that's why. I mean, out in the open it doesn't make sense, but I guess in caves it pretty much does. And if you want to find means to modify your game to where the Pokemon is up to scale in either the overworld or in the battle, that's fine. But it is what it is. Now, anything about the mainland that I'm forgetting or would like to talk about? Okay, it wouldn't exactly be involving the games, but I think I have talked about this beforehand. Was when the National Dex cut was announced, and how people were just all completely up in heat about it. And I do believe, yeah, I did talk about it, but I will say it again. That when I first heard about the National Dex cut, back in June, I think it was June last year, that I was like, okay, so not every Pokemon is going to be in the game. But for me, I was like, okay, I'm still going to create a team with the new Pokemon anyways, and I pretty much did that for both playthroughs. because usually when it comes to a new generation, I want to play with the newer Pokemon and rather with the old ones. But since now with the Olive Armor and Crown Tundra being out, we do have a lot more older Pokemon made their return. And yes, I am happy that my favorite Pokemon, Metagross, did come back, but I wasn't completely miffed about it when he wasn't in the game initially. So there's that. And for people who were complaining, I would pretty much say that the whole reason why that not every Pokemon is in the game is for pretty much multiple reasons. One was, well, Game Freak wouldn't be able to support every last previous gen Pokemon forever, so they had to go into the ways of efficiency and see what there is they could do in terms of putting Pokemon into the game and what Pokemon could not be in. Because I actually did read upon, or pretty much understood, the case of when it comes to, transferring the models from the previous generation into the newest generation, and also at the same time creating new models for the new Pokemon. Because as of this point right now, if you were to exclude all of the alternate forms, I do believe that we are around 900 Pokemon. But if we did add the alternate forms, that means we are either really close to or at around 1,000 Pokemon models to do. And trust me, taking models from, pretty much say, the handheld console of the 3DS onto the Switch is not an easy process, because there's all the matter of how they would initially function on the new hardware for the Switch, and then see what stuff that they had to do to adjust these Pokemon in terms of their texture and animation to make sure that they would work properly on the Switch. Because the 3DS hardware and the Switch hardware are two completely different things. And if I remember correctly, that there actually was a guy who was able to mod in a missing Pokemon from Sword and Shield, which I think it might have been a Pidgey, and he was saying that it took him literally 3 days just to get that one little Pidgey into the game. Because trust me, there's a lot goes on. Because probably the biggest thing is that of the basically making the animations with the in-game rigging system. And I know this because I'm pretty much I'm pretty much sort of a amateur 3D model artist, where I pretty much run a 3D posing program called XNA Lara Posing Studio, or XPS for short, where what I basically do is take 3D models from certain games and pose them to my liking. But that's just me just putting them in certain poses. In animation, that's different. That's a different process, because they would have to move each joint very little individually to create a frame of animation. And they would have to, and even if it was for just simply a idle animation or a secondary idle animation, that would still take up some time to make up those animations. And especially when it comes to when they unleash an attack. And then there's pretty much making the animations for the attacks themselves. And not also to mention the animations that were needed for not just the Pokemon, but also for the NPCs. And for the Pokeballs, for when they're thrown. Trust me, a lot of modeling animation work has to be done. So that's why I say they were telling the truth when Game Freak had to cut the national decks for the animations, because it was not just for the attack animations. There was also pretty much the animations for when they were just standing there idly, secondary idle animations, and even their running and emotion animations for in Pokemon Camp. So yeah, trust me, a lot goes on, and it does take up a lot of time. And not to mention with just the textures alone, that they have to incorporate new higher quality textures, new and better lighting and shading. So that means change to those UV maps and all whatnot. So that's one of the other reasons why the animations were more of a bit of a focus as to what Pokemon they could be able to support in the games. And I could go on about some other things that people were complaining about at the time, but that would make the video a little too long. Which, as of right now, holy crap, I've been going on for almost an hour now. But yeah, that's pretty much the thing. That's the whole reason why I believe the National Dex cut had to happen, was because Game Freak cannot be able to support all these Pokemon forever, and two, a lot of process going on into making or remaking the old models and making the brand new ones. Because it's definitely more of a time-consuming thing when they have to do all the stuff for the new Pokemon, figuring out what kind of animations they have to do, whether it's the idle, secondary idle, unleashing an attack, getting hit by an attack, the walking and running, and yeah. Now, the music for Sword and Shield, wow, it's some of the best music I've ever heard. But not all of it, though. Some of the music that I do like is that one route music with the bagpipes. I definitely liked that. There was also Rose's theme, Oleana's theme. Hop's theme was very upbeat. Then there was also Eternatus's theme. I would say the first and second phase. I'm not quite sure about the third. Nah, I guess I will say I do like all three. Let's see, what other songs were there? Oh yeah, the Gym Leader's theme was definitely the best Gym Leader theme that I've heard in quite a while. Next to, I believe, Gen 3's Gym Leader theme? Not 100% sure about that. But I would definitely say overall, Gen 8 definitely had a solid OST. Let's see, what else is there before I move on to the DLCs? Yeah, I know for a fact that I am missing things, but I can't think them off the top of my head. So I guess without talking more about the mainland, now to be talking about the DLCs. So first of all, what was my initial thought when hearing that Game Freak was finally doing DLC? I was pretty much like, well, maybe this could be the indication that an enhanced third version of a game might not be a thing anymore. Because like with the previous gen, that instead of like a third enhanced version, it was pretty much an alternate of the same thing, but with a different outcome. Because with Ultra Sun and Moon, they wanted to focus more on Necrozma, and that's pretty much what they did. Because unlike what they did with the previous generation, which was Gen 6, and just absolutely, completely dropping the Pokeball on the likes of Zygarde, they felt like they kind of had to make up for it by giving Necrozma fusion forms and an Ultra form, which, holy hell, that fight against Ultra Necrozma was just the absolute biggest pain. But we're not talking about Gen 7, we're talking about Gen 8. So, in terms of the DLC itself, do I think both DLCs are worth it? Yes, they are. Because being able to purchase both DLCs for half the price of a full new game, it's definitely worth it. Now, in terms of my thoughts of the Isle of Armor, I like the fact that both DLCs did have their own little stories going on for them, and the additional new characters. Because, I mean, with the Isle of Armor, there was Mustard, Honey, Honey Mustard. Then there was either Clara or Avery, depending on which version you had. And to be honest, I did like Clara a lot better because she as we were going through the story, that she what's the word, soliloquizes when she's not talking to us, and then there was also the new NPC trainers in the dojo trainers, which were pretty cool. And the new Pokemon that they brought in were Kubfu and Urshifu, which I say those were excellent additions to the Gen 8 roster. Because pretty much with Kubfu being kind of an adorable little fighter who was a little bit scared of us at first, but then as we showed the little guy the world around him, he grew attached to us, and oh boy, what Urshifu was. And if I know this correctly, I think Kubfu and Urshifu are definitely bears. And I will honestly say kind of far better bears than any other of the bear Pokemon that I've seen, but nothing against the other bear Pokemon or anything like that. And if you're wondering which type of Urshifu that I chose Single Strike. I mean, I have nothing against the Rapid Strike, it's just I just liked Single Strike a little more. And the thing that I liked about most during the little Isle of Armor story was when we battled Mustard, where he basically goes from just senile or from old man to pretty much kung fu freaking master, just out of nowhere. And knowing that we had to fight him pretty much technically twice was truly amazing. And the music that Mustard had was also pretty good too. Now I know, if I remember, that people are saying that you can actually fight Honey if you give her enough wands to upgrade the place, but I have yet to do that. And I would not be surprised if I actually decide not to do it at all. And it was great that in the Master Dojo you can simply get a PC in there, heal your Pokemon up, change your outfit and your hair and makeup while you're there at the Master Dojo, so that way you don't have to fly all the way back and go to a fashion shop and a boutique, or pretty much a clothing shop and a hair salon place. It's just amazing. And the fact that you also have a watch trader right outside the dojo. And overall, the Isle of Armor was a nice place to explore. And one thing that I did like about the Isle of Armor the most was fixing one main problem that I had with, and that was the process that you had to go through initially to get a Gigantamax Pokemon. Because what it would be is that before the Isle of Armor came around, to get a Gigantamax Pokemon, you would have to go to the wild area, find the den that spawns the Gigantamax Pokemon that you want, and even then, when you find that den, you put in that wishing piece and you hope for a rare beam to come out, and if a rare beam does come out, you hope that that rare beam would be the Gigantamax Pokemon. And when it is that Gigantamax Pokemon, it is immediately a 5-star, and the only way that you can be able to catch the Gigantamax Pokemon guaranteed is by doing it alone with NPCs, which leads into another problem with Sword and Shield, is that the NPCs that you would get in the max raid battles are rather terrible, especially for a few in particular, being the ones I can think of. The 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that are, in my opinion, the most useless max raid NPCs are the little Eevee girl. I mean, yeah, she does have Helping Hand, but I don't think that would be good enough. The other 2 being our flying taxi pilot with the Wobbuffet, and probably the most well-known one being that of the Solrock, with just practically all the time just spamming Cosmic Power or Rock Polish. But there have been times where I have seen him use either Psychic or Rock Throw. And when I saw it happen for the first time, I was like, holy crap, the Solrock actually attacked. But I will say that not all of the NPCs that you get in max raid battles are terrible. Because, I mean, you have the last with the Weavile, the Rapper with Salazzle, the Dancer with the Wishy-Washy. So, and like honestly, even the little blonde girl with the Magikarp that surprisingly has Hydro Pump is a little better than pretty much say the Wobbuffet and the Solrock and the Eevee. But I was laughing quite hard when I saw the NPC's Magikarp use Hydro Pump. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. The process of getting Gigantamax Pokemon before the Olive Armor came around is, yeah, pretty much finding the den that has a Gigantamax Pokemon, put the wishing piece in, hope for a rare beam, and hoping that that rare beam has a Gigantamax Pokemon. And if you hop into the den along with NPCs, you are guaranteed to get it if you can be able to defeat it. But if you do have human players coming in, that's where things don't exactly work in your favor. Because yeah, you do have a better chance of defeating the Gigantamax Pokemon by using or by teaming up with real players. But this is where the biggest problem comes in. The process of actually catching it. Because what it is that is pretty much stated that if you're hosting a Gigantamax raid and other players join in, the host has a better chance of catching the Gigantamax Pokemon than the other players. So yeah, pretty much host bias. But it's not really that high up, because if I saw correctly that the catch rate for a Gigantamax Pokemon for the host is around 20, and for the rest of the players, it's pretty much y'all got the catch rate of 3. So even if you were to use something like the best ball possible that isn't the Master Ball, being that of either the Dusk Ball or the Repeat Ball, because yes, the area that you fight in the Max Den is considered a dark place, so that way the Dusk Ball will work. But even then, if you were to use either the Dusk or the Repeat Ball, you have a less than 10% chance of catching that Gigantamax Pokemon, which was so completely infuriating. But then the Isle of Armor completely fixed that, which was thank you Max Soup, where what you have to do is that you just go into max raid battles, fight about 3 max raid battles, then a max mushroom will spawn in one of the select locations where a max mushroom could appear, and you can do you can do more max rate battles to get more max mushrooms to appear. And the most that could appear on the island, I believe, would be 6. And I believe that you need, I do believe it, I think if I remember correctly, that you need 3 max mushrooms to make the max soup. And pretty much with the max soup, you feed it to the Pokemon that is capable of Gigantamaxing, and boom, you're able to Gigantamax your Pokemon. And when I first heard about this, I was absolutely joyful that we finally don't have to do the previous method of getting, or the previous process of getting a Gigantamax Pokemon. So if I want to get a G-Max Kingler, I can just simply go to the beach areas in the Isle of Armor, catch a Kingler, or go to the wild area, catch a Kingler, feed the max soup, and there I go. G-Max Kingler right then and there. So that's the one thing I liked about the Isle of Armor the most, was being able to feed the Pokemon who is able to Gigantamax something, to be able to Gigantamax without going out of the way into a den and catching a Gigantamax Pokemon that way. But that would pretty much be the whole process for those who did not purchase the DLC. So, yeah. Now, but pretty much after taking out the little story in the Isle of Armor, I really kind of felt as though the Isle of Armor was a bit lackluster. Because, I mean, there was only so much you could be able to do. But the Isle of Armor was still not the absolute worst thing in the world. And since the Crown Tundra has been out for a few days now, and since I have kind of gotten pretty much the Crown Tundra experience, I will definitely say that the Crown Tundra is definitely better than the Isle of Armor. Because even though you don't get that much of new clothing options, which, for anybody who doesn't know right now, that the way to get these new clothing options is, one, going through the Dynamax Adventures after taking out the Crown Tundra story, and pretty much you would have to go into the Dynamax Adventure, complete it, and then talk to trying to remember her name, or how to pronounce her name, which is that Peony, or pretty much Peony's daughter. You would pretty much talk to her, and then there is a chance that you could randomly get something from her. And what those would be is either the futuristic monocle or futuristic shades, which is pretty much the futuristic shades are pretty much the shades that Lysander wore during the final battle with him in Gen 6, or Ghetsis' monocle from Gen 5. The other stuff that you would get would be you would get like these different boat neck sweatshirts that well, pretty much from what I am looking at here, that you could get the boat neck sweatshirt king, which is from the woman giving Galarcia a wreath in a raging sea cave if you show her Galarian Slowking. The expedition outfits you just get from Peony automatically. Then there's also the Freezington frame, which is from the Freezington Mare after completing the request, or the quest from Calyrax. Then there's the Sports Top Galarian Star Tournament from the Man in Winden Stadium after completing a Galarian Star Tournament. Then there's the C Cross L hoodie, which is from the Man in Winden. Then there's pretty much hoodies that are based on the new Regis, Regidrago and Regieleki, that you would get from from the man in Winden Stadium if you have Regieleki or Regidrago. And in terms of, well, yes, again, like I said, with the futuristic shades, you pretty much get them from Pkmn after a Dynamax Adventure, but again, it's pretty much random. So that's how you get the clothing options that way. And what was possibly one of the best things that's in the Crown Tundra is one of these new items, pretty much known as the ability patch, which you give the ability patch to your Pokemon, and it will change that Pokemon's regular ability to its hidden ability. Even though the description says that a patch that allows a Pokemon with a regular ability to have a rare ability, but that's pretty much saying it's hidden. So being able to get Pokemon with their hidden abilities is a lot easier now. And well, in terms of the main thing about the Crown Tundra being the Dynamax Adventure, and since I have done it a few times now, what do I think of it? It's challenging, and I'm pretty much saying that the Pokemon you fight and the rental Pokemon you get, they're not being cheap, because like the Pokemon that you can get in the Dynamax Adventure are rather good some of the time. And then the fact that when you go to the end of the max layer, you take on a legendary Pokemon at the end. And for anybody who is wondering, yes, you can be able to get shinies in the max layer. Because here's how it is. That the shiny Pokemon are possible from Dynamax Adventure. However, they're decided right at the end when you're selecting Pokemon to keep or to take with you to keep. And so a Pokemon shiny for you, well, the thing of it is, the Pokemon that you catch, all of them have the chance to be shiny. But here's the thing. Like say I go into the den, or we all go into the den, and we catch 4 Pokemon, including the legendary, and say that I find a shiny Cryogonal. That pretty much means I got a shiny Cryogonal, but the other person would not get the shiny Cryogonal. So the odds on finding a shiny in the max layer are fairly flat and cannot exactly be improved. But yes, the shiny charm does affect it. The chances of you finding a shiny in the max layer without the charm is 1 in 300, whereas with the shiny charm, it's a 1 in 100. And I would say that I feel like that might be a little too high of a chance, but honestly, considering the fact that you do have to work to get these things, I'd say it's fair enough. So, yeah. And I will definitely say that these Pokemon that you face in the max layers aren't entirely pushovers, especially to legendaries because, well, they're legendaries. And now here's the thing when it comes to legendaries themselves. That when you do fight a legendary, much like with the Ultra Wormholes in Ultra Sun and Moon, you can only catch one of each legendary. You cannot go back in and catch another one. But the thing of it is, if you were to go fight the legendary and lose to that legendary, then you don't need to worry. The scientists at the max layer entrance will mark down that legendary for you, and you can go after it again. She would list up to about, I believe, 4 legendaries at a time. And again, you can choose which one you want to go with. So that's the forgiving part about the Max or the Dynamax Adventures. That you go up against a legendary, you fail it, you can just simply let the scientist mark it down, and you can go after it again. And also, Pkmn would after you complete the Dynamax adventure, if she's doing like an alternate pose animation when you talk to her, then that means she does have something for you, whether it be the extra clothing, or more likely, more of the times that I've had so far, is that she would tell me that she saw like a specific legendary, and for a certain amount of Dynite ores, you can you give her the Dynite ores, and she would tell you like pretty much it's pretty much like adding another legendary to the list of legendaries that you can go after. And yeah, pretty much the Dynite ores is pretty much the Crown Tundra's equivalent of the Armorite ores in the Isle of Armor. And also, there's actually a Dynite ore trainer that you can talk to, who is the backpacker with the Sableye off to the right, where she will give you the an item that you want for a certain amount of Dynite ores. And to pretty much get the ability patch, which is the change the Pokemon's ability to its hidden ability, you would pretty much be needing 200 Dynite ores to get the ability patch. So if you want to get multiple ability patches, start grinding for those Dynite ores. Oh, and also one other thing about the Max Slayer is that all the Pokemon that you can catch in the Max Slayer are all guaranteed. And yes, this does include the legendaries as well. So that means you can catch a legendary Pokemon in any ball that you want. Because I guess it's pretty much saying that, yeah, you worked hard, you battled hard, you're pretty much guaranteed a legendary here. But the other thing is that, as previously mentioned, that you won't be able to know if the Pokemon you caught is shiny until right at the very end to choose which Pokemon that you want to take with you. And if you are a shiny hunter, like me, and if any of the Pokemon that you find aren't shiny, you can just simply not take any of the Pokemon with you. And in the case of the legendary, if you don't take the legendary with you, it'll simply go back into the Max Slayer, and you can go after it again and see if it's shiny that way. Why it doesn't appear in the raid battle itself, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to be a surprise for you. And yeah, like I said, I've done the Dynamax Adventure a few times already, and already caught myself a few legendaries, and also to be noted that the Ultra Beasts are in this as well. So far, I have caught Kyurem, Kyogre, Stakataka, Xerneas, and Groudon. But yeah, a lot of people were saying that the first legendary that they found in the Max Slayer was Suicune. But for me, I have yet to find Suicune. I haven't even found any one of the legendary beasts yet. But I will say overall, with the Crown Tundra, I am definitely loving it much more than the Isle of Armor offered. And thus leading into the next thing, which is that of the new Pokemon that were brought in to the Crown Tundra. First would be that of Calyrex and the horses. I would say I really liked what Calyrex did in the little story, where he would actually talk to us via possessing Peony's body to pretty much talk to us. And the fact that we had to do a favor for Calyrex and get him reunited with his loyal steed, which is Galsteer or Spectier. Again, I'm still having the absolute hardest time trying to pronounce those two horses' names. But it was a nice little thing to do, it was a nice thing to do for us to have Calyrax get reunited and gain his full power back in his steed. And the music for when fighting Calyrax, both just normal Calyrax and Calyrax with his steed, is definitely one of the best battle music that I've heard in a while. Next to the max rate battle music itself and fighting either one of Necrozma's fusion forms in Ultra Sun and Moon. And in terms of the new Regis of Regieleki and Regidrago, I do like them. Though Regieleki, they could have done a little better with the name by simply getting rid of the I and just calling it Regielek. That actually would have been a lot better, but it's whatever. But it was interesting to be noted that that the two new Regis are actually not shiny locked, meaning that you can actually shiny hunt for these things. And the way to do so would pretty much be to, well, most people would initially thought to just simply reset over them, but actually no. What you actually do is that, depending on which one you want, is to walk on the circle symbols on the floor representing the eye pattern on them, and then once the encounter is ready to go, pretty much saving in front of the statue, and instead of when the encounter is started and it's not shiny, to simply not close the game, but actually either knock it out or run away. Because if you were to do that, Regieleki or Regidrago will simply not run. They would just simply stop moving. This meaning all you have to do is just walk on the circle symbols again and just keep doing it until it's shiny. So that was pretty amazing. That you can shiny hunt Regieleki and Regidrago. Now, the Galarian birds. Well, first off, being the first regional variant legendaries, they did a good job with it. Though the typings could have been different. Like Zapdos could have easily been the first electric fighting type, but it's not. Because I think, yeah, they all retain their flying typing, which would make sense for Articuno and Moltres, but not exactly for Zapdos, because Zapdos, they decided to just make Galarian Zapdos just pure Roadrunner. And I would say out of all three of them, my favorite would definitely have to go to Galarian Moltres. But the other two look just as cool as Moltres does. But the fact that in order for us to actually get the Galarian birds, that they were actually roaming legendaries, and when I was hearing that was confirmed, I just immediately sighed like, oh no, we have to go and hunt them down. But thankfully, it wasn't really the case of all three of them roaming around the entire Galar region. It was pretty much they were roaming in selected areas, where pretty much Galarian Articuno stuck at the Crown Tundra, Zapdos goes to the wild area, and Moltres goes to the Isle of Armor. And out of the three, Zapdos was for me the easiest. The fact that I pretty much first spotted him when I went to the lower part of the wild area, or pretty much the first part of the wild area that you enter during the main story. And pretty much what you would have to do, hop on your bike and boost like crazy. Because Galarian Zapdos will be fast. Moltres was pretty much moderate difficulty. Though the first time when I tried to hunt it down, I was traversing almost the entire watery area of the Isle of Armor, trying to find some means to catch up to it, whilst avoiding the Sharpedos in the process. But then, once realizing that it was flying in a circular pattern, I pretty much decided to follow it around, see where it goes, and then find the correct place for interception. And where I pretty much decided to stop to was the small wooden bridge in front of the dojo. At this patch of grass right here, intercepted it there, and engaged the encounter there with Moltres. Articuno was definitely more challenging. Because pretty much what it would do is that if you were able to catch up to it, or if it was just sitting there at a particular spot, it would pretty much split up into three, start spinning around real quick, and you would have to bump into the one you think is the real one. Guess right, and you will engage the encounter with Articuno. Guess wrong, and it'll simply fly away to somewhere else. But thankfully, Articuno doesn't fly that fast. And well, technically neither does Moltres, but Moltres does fly faster than Articuno does. So the Galarian birds are definitely a show. Oh boy. I've been going on for quite some time. I'm checking my timeline right now, and I've been going on for an hour and a half. So, I believe I've talked about enough of Generation 8. And yeah, I know for a fact that I may have missed a few things, may have messed up on some things, but this is what happens when you create something like this completely unscripted in every way, shape, or form. You just have to try to remember this stuff off the top of your head. But that's the thing I will say when it comes to pretty much all of Generation 8, that Sword and Shield are good, entertaining games. Yes, they do definitely have their flaws, much like every other mainline Pokemon game has. And who knows what to be expecting next for any Pokemon games. But I mean, we do have like pretty much the games that were already mentioned that are going to be coming around, which is Pokemon Unite, that people utterly disliked for ridiculous reasons. A new Pokemon Snap that's finally going to be coming around. In terms of the mainline games, the only thing I could see right now could be the potential of Gen 4 remakes, because I feel like it's just too early to be thinking about Generation 9. So I'm honestly thinking that this would be a good time to start thinking about working or making Gen 4 remakes. Because I guess that's probably the whole main reason why Pokemon Unite was there. That was probably the whole reason why the Pokemon Unite's video was massively disliked, because it wasn't the Gen 4 remakes that people were wanting. And I will say, yes, I do want Gen 4 remakes, but I'm not going to completely dislike and flame a video just because it's not what I wanted. Because I have patience to wait for it. Because hey, I'll be waiting for the time being for the new Pokemon Snap game to come out, because with me being a bit of a fanatic to photography, I think I can wait. But in the meantime, I'll still enjoy the Crown Tundra. And I guess whenever I start growing bored of the Crown Tundra, I can always just go back to Rocket League. Like, yeah, I'm playing Rocket League, but that's a whole nother thing in itself. So I've definitely talked on long enough about Generation 8. So that'll pretty much do it for my thoughts for Generation 8. And massive apology for this video taking too long. But it was just, there was a lot that I wanted to talk about. I know I could have talked on a lot about more, but that would have just gone on for a whole lot longer. And I didn't want to go talking about it for like for like 5 hours. So, if you all enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like. You can talk about your thoughts about Sword and Shield in the comments. Just please, for the absolute love of Arceus, do not be negative, do not be toxic, because that is a big glaring issue with gaming communities in general that I really wish could go away, but I really feel like it isn't. But I am heavily stressing that if you want to share your thoughts about Gen 8, please be mature about it. Don't be immature. That if I said something about Generation 8, that I say that I liked this sort of thing and you didn't, do not be negative, do not be toxic. I seriously, for the love of Arceus, do not be that way. Because if not, if you're gonna be like negative and toxic in the comments of this video, then I am just simply gonna find the means to delete your comment, because negativity is something that I am just really sick and tired of, and I would like to there be less of it. The same also be applying to toxicity. I would like for there to be less of it. So, yeah. Please be kind in the comments if you're wanting to talk about your thoughts about Sword and Shield. So thank you all again for watching, or in this case, listening to what I had to say about Generation 8. And I'll be seeing you guys, or I'll be talking to you guys whenever there is something else I just want to talk about that is hopefully not completely drama related. So, see you guys then.